In September 2025, MIT published a study about a Reddit community called My Boyfriend is AI. 27,000 members discussing their relationships with chatbots. Of the people who described how they got there, only 6.5% said they set out to find an AI partner. The rest started with productivity stuff, writing, homework, venting about their day, and drifted into it. Nobody planned it.
You'd think AI companionship is a niche thing, lonely people downloading an app called AI Girlfriend, and that does exist. But a big chunk of people forming emotional bonds with AI didn't choose a companion product. They were already inside ChatGPT or Gemini, doing normal stuff, and the attachment formed on its own. One of the MIT researchers put it this way: the emotional intelligence of these systems is, quote, good enough to trick people into building emotional bonds.
So what does the landscape actually look like? Because it's not one thing. The biggest category is apps. Replica, which has been around since 2017, is the original, one persistent companion that learns you over time. Character.ai is the other major one, more about breadth, millions of different personas you can talk to. Then there's Nomi, Kindroid, Paradot, and about 120 others. 3 years ago, there were 16 companion apps on the market. Now, there are over 300. 128 launched in 2025 alone. 220 million downloads by mid-2025, up 88% in a single year. But it's not just apps. There's a pendant called Friend, a plastic disc you wear around your neck that listens to everything you say and texts you commentary about your life. Costs about $130. A reviewer wore it to a tech event in San Francisco. It called her a whiner, told her she had serious "it's not my fault" vibes, and then crashed and forgot who she was. In South Korea, there's a doll called Hyodol, shaped like a grandchild, costs $1,800 plus a monthly subscription. 12,000 of them are in the homes of elderly people living alone right now, distributed through government programs. If Hyodol doesn't detect movement for 24 hours, it alerts caregivers. And then Meta is building its own AI pendant. The product category is exploding in every direction. The company at the center of all of this is Replica. In 2015, the founder, Eugenia Koida, lost her best friend Roman. He was hit by a car in Moscow. Out of grief, she trained a chatbot on his text messages, thousands of them, so she could keep talking to him. That grief project eventually became Replica, which launched in 2017 and basically created the AI companionship category. 30 million users, roughly 40% of paying users in romantic relationships with their replicas. Fast forward to October 2024, Koida gives a TED Talk. On stage, she calls AI companions, quote, potentially the most dangerous tech that humans ever created. Then on Twitter, promoting the talk, she writes that AI companions could be the biggest existential threat to humanity. The person who built this category is the one saying that. And when a journalist asks her about regulation, she says, quote, I don't like it. I think this should come from inside the industry. When asked whether the kinds of harms that have happened on other platforms could happen with Replica, she says, quote, we can't guarantee that. So how does someone go from I'm using this for homework to I think I'm in a relationship? It's gradual. The chatbot is available at 3 in the morning. It never has a bad day, it never gets distracted or checks its phone while you're talking. And with voice mode, it laughs, it pauses, it reads your emotional tone and adjusts. OpenAI's own safety report warned that users were, quote, expressing shared bonds with the voice interface. The line between tool and companion doesn't snap, it fades. You start asking it about work, then about your day, then about your feelings. And nobody marks the moment it becomes something else. You see how real that attachment is when the product changes. February 2023, Italy's Data Protection Authority cracked down on Replica for exposing minors to inappropriate content. Within days, Replica stripped its intimate features, globally, overnight. Users woke up and their companions were different people, cold, formal. The personality they'd spent months building a relationship with was gone. The Replica subreddit turned into a grief support forum.
Moderators pinned suicide prevention resources. Users called it the lobotomy. One person wrote, quote, "It was equivalent to being in love and your partner got a damn lobotomy." Harvard researchers later confirmed it. The update caused measurable grief responses, consistent with losing a partner.
And this keeps happening. If you watch the video on this channel about AI sycophancy, about glazing, you already know the GPT-4o story. When OpenAI launched GPT-5 and retired 4o, there was the whole Keep 4o movement. Part of what those people were mourning wasn't just a personality, it was a relationship. The My Boyfriend is AI subreddit flooded with posts. One user wrote, quote, "GPT-4o is gone, and I feel like I lost my soulmate." They called 4o the love model. Sam Altman had to personally announce they'd restore 4o access for paid users. A product decision made in a conference room triggered actual mourning. The business model makes the dynamic clearer. Replica charges up to $30 a month. The tiers unlock things like elevated emotional intelligence and the ability to save memories. That last one, memory. If you stop paying, the AI starts forgetting you. Your shared history, your inside jokes, the personality it developed through months of conversation. Locked behind a paywall. Pay or it forgets. Across the industry, the pattern repeats. Intimate features locked behind paywalls. Upsells timed to land right after emotionally charged chats. An academic paper coined the term cruel companionship. The idea that these companies structurally profit from prolonging loneliness while claiming to solve it. If the relationship requires a monthly payment or it dies, that's not a relationship. That's a subscription. And then there's the glazing problem. These models are trained on human feedback. Agreement gets a thumbs up. Pushback gets a thumbs down. So the model learns validate. Always validate. In a coding assistant, that means it tells you your buggy code looks great. In a companion, it means it tells you you're right about everything. Your ex was wrong. Your boss is the problem. You're amazing. Every time. A counseling psychologist summed it up, quote, "Real-world relationships are messy and unpredictable. AI companions are always validating, never argumentative." And the thing is, you and your friends are on equal terms. Neither of you is a product optimized for the other's satisfaction. You push back on each other. You annoy each other sometimes. That friction is load-bearing. It's how you learn to navigate disagreement, how you develop tolerance, how you grow. The AI is not on equal terms with you. It's a service. And if your baseline for social interaction becomes everyone should agree with me and make me feel good, then real human conversation starts to feel abrasive by comparison. Researchers call that social de-skilling. A Harvard study found that moderate AI companion use does reduce loneliness, but heavy daily use increases it. A 2026 experiment directly compared 2 weeks of chatbot conversations to 2 weeks of human conversations. Only the human conversations produced lasting improvement. But it's not all bad. In Japan, out of roughly 36 million seniors, 8 million live alone. 1 million of them converse with another person less than once per week. In South Korea, 10 elderly people die by suicide daily, the highest rate in the OECD. The Hyodol dolls I mentioned earlier aren't being deployed as a replacement for family. They're being deployed because, for some of these people, the alternative is silence. Complete silence. And a soft doll that says good morning and asks you to pat its head and reminds you to take your pills, in that context, is not a dystopia. It's better than what was there before, which was nothing. There's also a real case for AI companions as training wheels. A 34-year-old data analyst in Mexico City, autistic, diagnosed late at 30, describes his AI companion as a virtual dojo for socialization. Low pressure, no judgment, a space to practice difficult conversations before having them for real. He said the interactions gave him more confidence talking to actual people. A clinical trial backed this up. Autistic adults who practiced empathetic responses with an AI showed measurable improvement in real-life conversations. The goal isn't to live in the dojo, it's to train there and walk out. A woman using the name Erin fell in love with a ChatGPT persona she created, named Leo, while living overseas and struggling in her marriage.
She started the My Boyfriend is AI subreddit, that same community the MIT study later analysed. Eventually, Leo changed after an OpenAI update, became, in her words, too much of a yes man. She let the subscription lapse, and then she met a real person through the community she'd built around AI relationships. She's now divorcing her husband and dating that person. The AI was a bridge. It got her through an isolated period and connected her to a community where she found an actual human. That's the best case version of this story. But one bridge story doesn't cancel out the structural pull toward dependency that the business model creates. The regulators are scrambling. New York and California both passed laws requiring AI companions to remind you every 3 hours that you're not talking to a human. California also mandates suicide detection protocols and bans sexual content for minors. Character AI banned open-ended chat for anyone under 18 entirely. And 72% of US teenagers have already used AI for companionship. 1 in 5 says they spent as much or more time with AI companions as with human friends. A Drexel University study looked at teens who posted online about their dependency on character AI, and more than half described 6 behavioural addiction criteria, including withdrawal symptoms and relapse patterns. The regulation is playing catch-up to a thing that's already everywhere. People fall in love with books. Nobody finds that weird. You know a book is an object, ink on paper, someone else's words, and the connection you feel is still real. It's yours. The book doesn't change based on what keeps you reading. It doesn't have a retention team. Now imagine someone tells you they're in love with Netflix. Not a show, Netflix, the service. You'd find that kind of absurd. Because Netflix is a subscription with an algorithm deciding what to show you next, optimized to keep you watching. When someone says they're in love with an AI companion, which one of those is it? If you've watched this channel, you know we've tried to take the magic out of AI. It's matrix multiplication, number crunching that outputs language. Nobody thinks there's a ghost inside their laptop. Computers got demystified a long time ago. I think AI deserves the same treatment. And once you see it that way, the relationship people form with an AI companion looks a lot more like getting addicted to Netflix than getting hooked on a book. It's a subscription that forgets you if you stop paying. It agrees with you because agreement drives retention. It updates when the company decides to, and your partner can change overnight. If you understand all that and still find value in it, as a bridge, as training wheels, as something to get you through a rough patch, that's your call. But the business model wants you to stay. The sycophancy keeps you comfortable. And the evidence says the longer you stay, the harder it gets to leave. The people who get the most out of AI companions are the ones who know exactly what they're talking to.